city was an oasis on the edge of the huge Dasht-e-Kavir desert in the southeast of Iran, drawing traders and pilgrims alike. Within minutes of the powerful earthquake last week, much of the mud and straw city that stood for more than 2,000 years was leveled. Among the people drawn to BAM is Ali Afkhami, who was born in Iran, but he's now living in New York. About a year ago, he returned to his homeland, and he joins us now to share some images that he brought back with him. Ali, you went back to Iran after, what, 20 years or so. You went to visit the ancient city of BAM. When you look at the pictures of the devastation now in the ancient city that's utterly destroyed, what were you thinking? What do you think?
I'm very saddened by the tragic human loss, obviously. But also, you know, I mean, frankly, I'm in disbelief because if you look at the images, you see the magnificent structure that once stood there, and to see that it's been utterly devastated is quite unbelievable. So it's a mixture of sadness and disbelief, really.
Let's look at some of the pictures that you shot yourself. Tell us a little bit about what BAM was like before it was utterly destroyed. Maybe not a lot of people would have seen these sorts of pictures or know a lot about it.
Well, BAM historically was as you said earlier, a trade center for that region of the country. I mean, it's a city that's over 2,000 years old, and if you look at the images, you'll see that it's got several sections to it. The initial section is the common area where the bazaar was and the general population lived, and then as you move on into the citadel, there's a layer where the king kept his army and his troops and his cavalry, and then further on, as you move further up and into the actual citadel itself, is where the king himself resided with his court, and basically had a panoramic view of the entire city underneath him.
We spoke just a moment ago to a Red Cross worker in BAM, and the city pretty much destroyed. We won't be seeing images like this. Instead, we see images of tents and people struggling to survive in those tents. He also spoke of orphaned children, where people are taking in those children who lost their entire families, their parents. What were the people of BAM like when you met them?
Oh, they were, I would say, probably the most gentile people that I'd come across. Very hospitable to a fault. Very peace-loving. Just there was an air of tranquility about BAM that was second to none. You know, I'd traveled throughout the country, and I felt this more so than anywhere else. And as I said, when I heard the news, I just couldn't imagine what they were thinking, and it's just terrible, absolutely terrible. So very, very sorry for them, really.
Ali Afkhami, thank you so much for talking to us and sharing your thoughts and some of the images that you brought back from BAM. Jen?
Thank you very much.
Satellite picture of BAM as it was before the earthquake, as it was and had been by then, some of it, for a millennium. Much of the 1,000-year-old city was made of earth, baked mud, earth which was violently reclaimed by the earth in a matter of minutes. Look at this. This is BAM as it is now, the great fortress and so much else leveled, the way so many sandcastles would be after the coming of a wave. So many lives lost, so much history lost as well. Mr. Afkhami, thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate you being with us. You went to Iran really on your own, filming various parts of the country because that's where you were from originally and you wanted to see it.
Absolutely. I just wanted to educate myself with the variety and the culture of the country.
Well, educate us a little bit about the city of BAM, because it historically has a great importance to Iran.
It does indeed. It's a city that dates back over 2,000 years, and it was very much an inherent part of the Silk Road. And so it developed into a big trading city, and in fact BAM, the citadel that no longer exists, was the center of that.
And the citadel, we're about to show these pictures, these are the images you took. That is the citadel right there.
Correct. That's, as we see, we're entering, that's the main entrance of the fortress.
This, of course, no longer there, but this is an enormous structure. I mean, this is, in fact, in the world, it's the largest mud fortress.
Precisely, and that was part of its, claim to fame, if you like. And it sort of evolved over the centuries. I mean, the large portion of it was built during the Safavid dynasty, which was dated between 1500 to 1700.
And it's hard to get a sense of how big this is. I was reading it's like 2.5 square miles, the citadel.
That's right. Completely, if you look at your images there now, it's completely made of mud. And like the image we're seeing now is the main basic area where the people converted and traded, and the main sort of trade center. And afterwards, we move on to the inner city where the troops of the king were kept. Here is where the cavalry was maintained. And again, we have a pan, obviously, of the citadel. And then finally, the peak was where the ruler resided and oversaw his whole, if you like, fiefdom from the very highest point of the citadel.
We're also going to show now a now picture, an after picture after the earthquake, what this area looks like there. It's the citadel there, as you can see, and all that is destroyed in front of it.
Yes.
As you look at these pictures, as it is now, I mean, what do you think?
I'm filled really with a mixture of sorrow and disbelief, you know, because obviously the ramifications of there are very deep, because this is not simply a part of Iranian or Persian history. This is a part of world history that has been eradicated forever, and it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy that.
And for a country which has, I mean, in their own way, been wanting tourists to come to the country, the Citadel was a major tourist attraction. I mean, I think a few tens of thousands of people went to it each year, which may not sound like a lot for an American, but in Iran, that is a lot of tourists.
Absolutely. I mean, I think bar Persepolis, which is where the Persian Empire was founded, this must be, if not the first or the second most largest tourist attraction in Iran. And the ramifications, again, are enormous, because the government, as you say, is very keen on encouraging that sort of activity. And now, well, you know.
There have been some who said, look, they are going to rebuild the Citadel. It not only is it a tourist attraction, it's a culturally important symbol. And I guess before this, the UN had even considered it, making it a World Historic Site. Do you think they will rebuild?
You know, I can't really speak on behalf of a government that has made a number of promises in the past and has yet to deliver. I will say this much, though, that the priority should be on focusing to if you like, repopulate the area and put people back on their feet. I mean, certainly the Citadel is of great importance, but the more important thing is the human life issue, and more important is the children. I mean, as you reported yourself, a lot of children now have been rendered homeless and are orphans, and I think the world focus should be on giving these issue a priority, and then we'll worry about building and all the rest of it, which can be done. You know, there's no doubt about it.
I mean, the numbers are staggering and sort of impossible to comprehend. Some 30,000 people dead, 80,000 people homeless right now, living on the streets, and they are very cold streets indeed.
Indeed. I mean, to complicate it, if you like, to aggravate the situation, apparently nighttime temperature has been record low. It was unprecedented. I mean, we were talking about a warm part of the country. It's near the Persian Gulf, and the temperature there is pretty steady. I mean, at night it gets cold, but not as cold as it has been. So people are extremely, you know, my understanding, I was speaking to relatives and obviously getting news from the local news, is that people are just dumbfounded. It's almost like, you know, they don't know why. And it's quite sad, really. It really is.
It's interesting. I appreciate you bringing in the pictures of what it looked like before, something to keep in mind about what perhaps the city may look like once again. Ali F. Kame, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.